It was announced just yesterday that 4 teams will be joining the Pac-12, well, the Pac-2 this year, starting July 1st, 2026. And those 4 teams were Boise State, Fresno State, Colorado State, and San Diego State. This is the state conference, in my opinion. But yes, 4 new teams. The Pac-12 is looking to make a comeback. Boise State's projected to win the conference with Oregon State, Fresno State in the top 3. With San Diego State at the bottom, Colorado State and Washington State at the 4 and 5 spot. I have Boise State winning this conference. I think they can win this conference. Now, this will only be a 1-year sim. This is only going to be a 1-year sim, so I'm going over the stats mid-season and at the end of the season, and maybe one of these teams will make the playoffs. A little bit of a shock, but San Diego State is leading the conference at a 5-2 record with Fresno State just being behind them. Boise State is 3rd in the conference with Oregon State, Washington State, and Colorado State all being 3 and 5. But San Diego State, they're looking pretty good right now, and they are the 2nd worst overall in the conference. 3-0 in the conference, 5-2 record for them. Let's get into the stats for each team. For Boise State, quarterback Malachi Nelson is having a great season. 1,923 yards, 21 TDs, 4 interceptions. Has played every single game. Has only taken 9 sacks. For the rushing game, we all expected this. Ashton Jancy, 771 yards, 7 TDs. He has played all the games, leading a rushing touchdown on the team. And 109 carries with the backup running back, having 51 carries for 168 yards. And for the receiving game, their leading receiver is Latrell Caples with 7 TDs, 646 yards. Looks like the receivers has played all the games as well. Camper, Bolt, Caples, all the same overall and playing very good this season. Heading to their defensive stats, their leading sack leader is Jaden Virgin Morgan with Ahmed Hassan. With Ahmed Hassanin, I think that's a Hassanin. It's very hard to say his name. Just behind him, leading tackler is Marco right here with 34 tackles with Irby and McCoy just behind him. Going into the interceptions for Boise State, they have a couple here with Oladipo, Robinson, McCoy, Simpson, and Tubner. Let's go into San Diego State stats. Boise State, I'm kind of shocked that they're not number 1 in the conference. They have their quarterback Malachi Nelson only has thrown 4 interceptions with 21 TDs. For San Diego State, though, their quarterback, oh wow, has been dominant. 2,062 yards, 16 TDs, 5 picks. It looks like their backup quarterback has played a couple because AJ Duffy is injured, so Kyle Crum will be coming in for him. Wow, that is terrible for the San Diego State Aztecs, as they are number 1 in the conference, so they have to rely on their backup QB. Let's actually check what the injury is looking like. He's going to be out for 3 weeks, so he will be there at the end of the season at least. For the rushing game, not too great. 4 TDs for Keenan Christian. Well, he's fumbled once. He has 12 broken tackles. That's pretty insane. He's played all the games for receiving. 525 yards for Jashawn Polk. Lewis Brown with 500 yards. Mekhi Shaw with 460. They've definitely passed it around at the receiving yards. TDs. Their leading reception touchdown is Jashawn Polk. Lewis Brown, Shaw. Wow. Receivers looking pretty good for San Diego State, and for the defensive side, their leading interception leader is Bennett Walker and Chris Johnson. Leading tackler is Brady Anderson. Most sacks on the team is Trey White and Darian Dalton. The most tackles for loss is Tapu Alulu, who's injured. So Trey White is their 2nd leading tackle for loss, and Brady Anderson. Let's get into Colorado State stats. San Diego State, they have a lot of injuries going on. But they're still number 1 in the conference. Let's go to Colorado State stats. With their quarterback, I'm projecting he's going to have a good stat line. I just think he will. They have a good receiver core. I'm going to project Colorado State is going to be pretty good. Well, I called it. Braden Fowler, I'm not even going to say his last name. 2,300 passing yards, 21 TDs, 4 interceptions. I was kind of just a guess of me just saying that he's going to have a good year. But oh my goodness, how is this team not 8-0? For the rushing game, wow, Avery Morrow, a 76 overall, 516 yards, 4 TDs. The receiving, yep, Donovan Ollie. It's not even Torrey Horton, their 91 overall receiver. Dylan Goffney, Donovan Ollie. Donovan Ollie's 8 touchdowns for Torrey Horton at 4. Goffney at 5. For their defense, their sack leader is James Mitchell with Neware right behind him. Leading interception is Aiden Hector, Dom Jones, Jack Howell, and Isaiah right here. And their leading tackler is Chase Wilson with Boom Jock. As I accidentally go onto Duke right there, but Boom Jock and Aiden Hector as well. Colorado State looking pretty good. Let's go into Fresno State stats, where we go into their quarterback, Mikey King, 21 touchdowns. For some reason, everybody has 21 TDs, 2,000 yards. He's gotten sacked only 6 times. He's played every single game. The rushing leader is Malik Sherrod, who's injured. We got to check up on that injury. He is out almost for the entire year. Mikey King with 153 rushing yards. Sherrod only has 3 TDs, 19 broken tackles, 117 carries. Not the greatest stats, but he averages 73 yards per game, so pretty good. The leading receiver, Jalen Moss with 599 yards. Mac DeLeno with 511. Raylan Sherrod has 156 receiving yards. And look at this, Jalen Moss leads the team in reception touchdowns with DeLeno just behind him. On the defensive side, their sack leader is Devo Bridges. Gabriel Lightfoot has 3 sacks. He's hurt as well. Corey Foreman has 2. Their interception leader is Dean Clark with 2 interceptions, with Cameron Bracha and Julian Neal with 1. Their leading tackler is Phoenix Jackson. Let's go into Oregon State stats now, where they're not going to be great this year. They played a couple games. They don't look too great in real life. They're not doing too terrible on the sim, but it's College Football 25, not real life. So let's get into their quarterback now. Another quarterback who's hurt. Their starting QB, Ben Goldbrinson, is out for the season. That is tough for Ben Goldbrinson in Oregon State. Giovanni McCoy not doing too great as the backup. Rushing leader Anthony Hankerson has just been dominating for Oregon State. Receiving leader Zachary Card, Darius Clemens. Zachary Card has 7 TDs at a 73 overall. So one of their worst receivers is their best receiver, Jeremiah Noja. Jimmy Volson III, who's also hurt, he has a TD. And for defense, their sack leader is DJ Wesselock with Tyjee Hill and Kelsey Howard. And then, oh wow, Noble Thomas Jr. with 3 interceptions, with Jaden Robinson with 2. And the leading tackler is Isaiah Chisholm. Oregon State looks not too great as they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Heading to Washington State stats, Zavai Eckes with 2,100 yards, 17 TDs, 6 interceptions. The rushing leader is Leo for 360 yards, 5 TDs, not terrible. With wow, what a name! What a name! I'm not even going to pronounce that. That's an insane name. The receiving leader, 737 yards. Chris Hudson with 8 TDs. He averages 90 yards a game. Carlos Hernandez, Kyle Williams, or tight end Cooper Mathers. They're spreading around a lot of 200-yard receivers, but Chris Hudson, he might be the best receiver in the Pac-12 in the sim. Their leading tackler is Tariq right here with Kyle Thornton and Capenna. Their leading sack leader is David Gusta with Quinn Roth. They know how to get sacks. Interception leader is Capenna again. Tariq, Thornton, and Augustine has an interception. I'm going to get to you guys once the season is over, and we will go over the stats, the conference standings. I'm gonna be picking the best player from the Pac-12 in this sim. Well, it's controlling Boise State, but as you see, we have the Pac-12 championship between Boise State and San Diego State. We'll get into that game. We'll sim that game. And we'll see what happens. But Boise State and San Diego State are in the Pac-12 championship just like that. So we predicted Boise State. We predicted Boise State to end up winning the conference. As, of course, they still have not won it, but they are leading the conference, it looks like. And, yes, they are. Every single team made a bowl game except Washington State and Oregon State. But Yeah, like I said, Oregon State was not going to be that good. Boise State, they weren't ranked, but they are the #1 in the conference. Wow. Stats, I'm just going to guess. I'm just going to fly through the stats right here. Malachi Nelson ended up with 34 TDs, 3,400 yards. Ashton Jancy had 1,100 yards with 12 TDs, with their backup running back and a couple touchdowns as well. Latrell Caples with over 1,000 yards receiving, 13 touchdowns for him, and Camper with 9. For their defense, their leading interception was, it looks like, Andrew Simpson, McCoy, Robinson, and Oladipo. Their leading sack leader is Jaden Virgin Morgan, who got hurt. Their leading tackler is Marco right here. And going into Colorado State stats, where they didn't do too great in the sim. Their leading passer is Braden Fowler right here, 29 TDs, great stats for him. Rushing leader, Avery Morrell to 77 overall with 8 touchdowns. Receiving leader, Donovan Goffney. Torrey Horton didn't even get 700 yards receiving. Very, very interesting there, 12 TDs for Donovan Ollie. Their leading sack leader is James Mitchell. Their leading interception leader is Aiden Hector. Their leading tackler is Chase Wilson. Going into Fresno State stats, where they did worse than I expected. I think they could have made the Pac-12 championship. Mikey Kane, 32 TDs, not the best yards, the worst out of the two guys we've already seen. Sherrod, who got hurt, got back, got a couple more yards, 646 yards with only 3 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Moss and Mac Delena and Braylon Sharp with all 700 yards. Wow, that is tons of touchdowns. That's 31 touchdowns with just these 3 guys. And their leading interception was Julian Neal. Most sacks on the team was Devo Bridges. Their leading tackler was Malachi Langley. Let's go into San Diego State stats as they made the Pac-12 championship in this sim. Very unexpected in my opinion. Very, very unexpected. Their passing leader, wow, yep, they had 3 different QBs play. AJ Duffy came back just in time to lead them to a Pac-12 championship. 20 TDs, 2,600 yards. Their leading rusher was Keenan Christian with 11 TDs, 682 yards. Their leading receiver, Mekhi Shaw. They had Jashawn Polk. They have Brown right here, and their tight end Logan Tanner with all 600-plus receiving yards, with Brown, Polk, and Shaw getting 21 TDs as just in total for all 3 of them. Tanner getting 2 of them. Their leading interception leader was Chris Johnson. Their sack leader was Trey White with only 4 sacks. Their leading tackler was Brady Anderson. Let's go into Oregon State stats now, where they played pretty good. You know, definitely not expecting them to do anything. They finished last in the conference, of course. They had 2 different quarterbacks play, with Ben Goldbrinson getting hurt. McCoy finished the season out, looks like. Hankerson, 725 yards, only 2 TDs. The receiving leader was Zachary Card with Clemens and Noja here, as Card had 9 TDs, Clemens had 4, and Noja had 6. And their leading sack leader was Westlock. Interception leader was Noble Thomas. Their leading tackler was Isaiah Chisholm. Going to Washington State stats, Zavai Ekis, 28 TDs, 10 picks, the most interceptions we've seen. Leading rusher Leo with 500 yards and 6 TDs. Their leading receiver is Chris Hudson, so he did not end up getting 1,000 yards. He only had 200 yards in the final, 5 games. He had 10 TDs, though, with Carlos Hernandez looking like he got a bunch of yards in those final games. He had 8 touchdowns as well. Their interception leader is Capenna right here. Their sack leader is David Gusta, and their leading tackler was Tariq. Going into the Pac-12 stats, we've already seen the stats, but Braden Fowler was the leading passing yard leader, and Malachi Nelson had the most passing touchdowns. Ashton Jancy, I think he might win this Pac-12 award, and just my opinion. I'm picking a player who's going to be the best in this conference. Avery Morrow, just behind him. Ashton Jancy had 12 TDs with Christian with 11. And then for the receiving game, Donovan Ollie had the most receiving yards. Caples right here, he's actually going to be the best player in the Pac-12 with Braden Fowler, Ashton Jancy, Avery Morrow did very good as well. Christian did very good, but I actually am going to go Latrell Caples. He had 13 touchdowns. 1,000 yards, 57 catches, and 67 was the longest. He played every single game. You know, Donovan played good as well, but I feel like Capels, made a bigger impact because, of course, they made the Pac-12 championship. For the defense, or the leading tackler in the Pac-12 was Isaiah Chisholm. The sack leader was David Gusta, and the interception leader was Noble Thomas Jr. So that is the stats for the Pac-12. Let's get into this Pac-12 championship, where I was not expecting San Diego State to make it. I was expecting Boise State to make it, and that was definitely expected. As you see, Boise State getting a recruit right here. Of course, I did no recruiting. I just sent all the way to the end. And yep, here we go. The Pac-12 championship between the Boise State Broncos and the San Diego State Aztecs. A very weird Pac-12 championship, but both the new teams, two of the new 4 teams that will be joining in 2026, so in 2 years. But let's get into these. Let's get into this Pac-12 championship. Boise State is driving down the field right now, and Ashton Jeanty with a touchdown right there. I'm gonna pump this up to fast so we can go a little bit faster, but actually I'm not gonna do that. It's going way too fast. We're gonna go by just quarter. We're gonna put the speed up, and Boise State is up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. Let's bump this thing up to down to normal. I want to see the scoreboard, but Boise State looks like they're going to win this one. I just feel it. A 4-yard rush for Ashton Jeanty. Let's bump this thing up to fast real quick, and we're just going to go by next quarter, see who's up. Boise State gets a touchdown right there. They get another touchdown. San Diego State gets on the board, and San Diego State gets 10 points at the end of the half. Third quarter starting right now. San Diego State cannot drive down the field. Boise State, there's no points in that third quarter. This could be the end of the game right here. Can San Diego State make an incredible comeback? Let's see. Boise State gets their final remarks, it looks like, and yep, this game is over. The Boise State Broncos have won the Pac-12 championship and the newly improved Pac-12. Malachi Nelson brings Boise State a championship, and Malachi Nelson, the freshman, the not true freshman, but 3 TDs, 243 passing yards. The Boise State Broncos have won the Pac-12 championship. Malachi Nelson threw a couple dots in this one, played very, very good, 243 yards, and look at them with that trophy. You got to love and see it. Boise State players are hyped on the field. And look at that. Boise State wins the Pac-12 simulation on the Ninja Nolan 3D channel. And let's check over the stats and see who played good. Player stats, Malachi Nelson, we already looked over his stats. 66 completion percentage, 3 TDs. Ashton Jeanty with a crazy game, 7 yards per carry. 125 yards rushing with a touchdown of his own. The receiving game, Austin Bolt. He was not a guy we looked over, really. Latrell Capels, Louter, and Cam Camper. Did they have any interceptions? Let's check that out. They did. And Marion McCoy, and their leading tackler was Ty Benefield. Let's go into San Diego State stats now. You know, if it actually works. And yes, it will work. So AJ Duffy, 17 for 28, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. The rushing game, not great at all. Wow, Boise State dominated the defense on the run. And their leading receiver was Mekhi Shaw with 80 receiving yards. They had Christian get a receiving touchdown, it looks like, and Polk with a receiving touchdown. And Malachi Nelson did not throw an interception. Their sack leader, they got no sacks. And their leading tackler only had 11 tackles. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Boise State wins the conference in the Ninja Nolan 3D Pac-12 Sim. If you like more of these videos, make sure to get this video to 10 likes, and more College Football 25 content will be coming out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like and subscribe to be a part of the GOAT Gang, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.